If you are interested in starting your own podcast, we use Buzzsprout because it is simple and easy to use. Buzzsprout can get your show listed on every major platform while giving you the resources for a great podcast website, audio players that can drop into other websites, detailed analytics to see how people are listening to your podcast, and tools to promote your episodes. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners, and that is why over 100,000 podcasters are already subscribed to Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. Following the link in our episode descriptions lets Buzzsprout know that we sent you. So in return, you will receive a $20 Amazon gift card from Buzzsprout while signing up for a paid plan. Most importantly, every subscription through our link is always appreciated and helps support our show so we can continue delivering the quality content that you guys listen to. That being said, back to the show.
Hello, and welcome to Comic Book Junkies. I'm Andrew.
This is Joe.
And we're back with our classic book story reviews. This time, it's a little different. Typically, well, if you're new here, welcome. If you're, an old friend of the Junkies here, you're a junkie yourself, then you know that we typically do American stories, classic, it's an American art form. That's basically who does it and who does it best. But we got something a little different for you today. Still comic book related, just a little bit different format. We're going to be reviewing Jiro Kuwata's Batmanga. Volume 1, which this was serialized in like Shonen King, I think back in like the mid to late 60s, kind of around the 66 craze, with Adam West, the TV show kind of lit a fire under Japanese Batman fandom. So they serialized this. And if you're familiar with us, we like Lord Deathman. We've mentioned it before from the Robin series. But if you're unaware of what the Batmanga is, it basically kind of brought Lord Deathman, kind of a one-note villain in a way, but kind of kept him from being sent into obscurity and has kind of given him a little bit of like a cult following in a sense. And, with it being around spooky season, thought this would be a fitting little thematic read here. But what's up, Joe?
I was going to say, when you were saying that, it kind of reminds me of like how Spot, the villain in that new Edge of Spider-Verse movie, is kind of like forgotten about, or it doesn't really matter too much. But it's stories like this that are like so good that you never truly forget about the character. And to your point, this is our first episode in October, so it's a great way to kick off spooky season. And silly note, like a manga, even buying like the digital copy, you still read it from right to left. So that kind of threw me off guard within the first page. I got it eventually. But 6 different arcs in our digital reader. We just read the first one titled Lord Deathman, which is the one that he's primarily or only featured in.
I believe it's the only one he's featured in.
But I guess if you want to start off with issue 1, it's a 3-issue arc. Jewel Smiths are kind of showcasing their best gems at a jewelry show, and Bruce Wayne is there with Dick Grayson as a buyer, and he kind of looks like what's that old race car animation?
Oh, Speed Racer?
Yeah, he kind of looks just like Speed Racer in this, and I kind of like it, actually. It's a cool fit for him. But as soon as one of the jewels begins to get auctioned, the lights go out, and Lord Deathman makes his appearance alongside some other skeleton henchmen, and Lord Deathman scares everyone with his gun, takes the jewel, and flees. So as soon as the door closes and before the lights come on, Bruce and Dick were already on their way to change into costume and track down the burglar.
Which is hilarious. They're like, bro, we got to go change. they're running around. But, before, you can, lead us through the story again. But how cool was it when Lord Deathman showed up? Just like the artistry, even he was just up there. He had the gun. He kept threatening to turn people into beehives. That was pretty sick.
Well, not only is the appearance cool, but skeletons just being like bones. It's cool that the story's in black and white too.
Yeah.
I kind of think it fits his like character. But to your point, they actually have to get changed. It's not like comic books nowadays where they just kind of brief over those things and head straight into like whatever's going on. Like comics back then, or I guess Batmangas back then, were quite literal. Like, how do we take which stairs to get to here so that we can stop the villain, as opposed to just showing up?
Yeah.
So there's a lot more thought put into it.
Yeah, this was the Silver Age. It just wasn't the American Silver Age. So it's kind of cool that, while I mean, Lord Deathman had came out, in America, right around that time. So to see Lord Deathman interpretation and, just even the drawings, like even when it comes down to like the panels and, everything like that, the dialogue, it reads very Silver Agey, but it doesn't read exactly, like if you were to thumb through like a Batman, like an American Batman comic at the time, it's kind of got a little bit of the like dynamicism, or however you want to say, the dynamism, whatever. It's kind of got like that kind of the goofiness that you'd expect from a manga, but it was also the Adam West era, so like they obviously drew from that. But as we get through the comic, you'll kind of see what I'm saying, like compared to a relative Batman story, like how kind of out there it gets. But I kind of appreciated it. I mean, I sound like an old curmudgeon, but like I prefer to read stories like in this format, kind of panel by panel, just like the little, even just the cheesy quips and stuff. But I digress.
The cheesy quips were the best part, and we'll go over some of those throughout the story. But I guess getting back to the story, Lord Deathman's shooting past security and makes some weird villainous remarks, which are all hilarious, and maybe my new favorite Batman villain after reading this. Not literally, but like he's up there.
He was badass.
He was badass. But anyway, Batman and Robin find their way out of the building and catch up to Lord Deathman getaway car. Funny enough, he's easily caught and taken to court. It's there where he's tried for the death penalty, which is also funny because he's already dead. But it's after the verdict that he randomly collapses and may be actually dead.
Yeah, bro. He's just standing there. He's like, oh, cool. And he just drops dead. But before that, he's just cracking up about the death sentence. He's like, oh, really? You think that'll work? And then he just fucking collapses. And everyone's like, what the hell? Okay. But I do love that in classic Batman fashion, too. Sorry to back it up a little bit. Like the way that they had to go after Lord Deathman is that they were up on the 10th floor and they had to like jump down like flagpoles and stuff like to get down to him. It's just the kind of the goofy super heroics of the day. But I also like how Batman like ditched Robin while Robin just beat up 5 grown adult men, and Batman just chased after Deathman to like catch him, which was just like, whoa, okay. Like Robin was buffed in this story. And that's like, we didn't even go over the remarks where he was roasting the chick at the beginning, which I also found hilarious. But like Robin was a real badass in this, arguably more so than Batman. Calm, cool, and collected, my guy. But we also didn't mention that he's chasing Deathman. Oh, that's because I'm out of order. My apologies. So we did just mention how he just started cracking up and then just died in like the floor of the court. So like Batman's like, oh man, he's having a nightmare like the next day, or that night rather, or whatever. And he's, he can't sleep. He keeps getting visions of Lord Deathman like shit talking him in his sleep. And then he's like, you know what? Let's go to Jamaica. And then after like a brief interlude of like laying on the beach, they hear the radio saying that Lord Deathman is back. And he's like, are you serious? So they leave Jamaica immediately. He's driving a black hearse, as his getaway vehicle. Batman's chasing him and swings a whole ass wrecking ball into his hearse to stop the car. So I don't know. This Batman certainly doesn't use guns, but he doesn't care about like maim or dismemberment.
You know what I thought of? Not to interrupt you, but like they found him in the hearse, but like what if it was somebody else's?
Batman don't care. That wrecking ball was gonna hit him no matter what.
That's what I'm saying. Like they just see hearse and they're like, oh, that's Lord Deathman for sure. But imagine it's just some dude.
All of my villains have themed vehicles. Why wouldn't he? It's like there's a whole line of cars with the little flags on top of them behind it. And Batman's like, what? But
yeah, weird morbid thought I had.
Yeah, but like anyone would do in that situation, Lord Deathman just gets out of the car and dies instantly again. But before he does that, he's like, I'll be back, bro. And he's really cool because he can keep doing that. Like he just like hits him with like a little one-liner and then just dies. And
that's really how this first issue concludes. But I guess Batman's wondering like,
what the hell?
Yeah, what's going on?
They like make it a point to be like, yeah, we went, like everyone went to the burial. He was totally in the pine box, like 6 feet under. And just every time he's just like, well, We're gonna make sure this time.
Yeah, yeah. No, specifically, that's how issue 2 starts. They see him die or get buried the first time on TV, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then this time they actually go in person to make sure he gets buried. And Bruce has more nightmares about Lord Deathman and going about their life, though. Bruce and Dick are invited to another jewelry show hosted by Mr. Star, the same guy as last time, and decides to go in order to take a break from all the stress that's been caused by Lord Deathman. And Bruce gets poisoned pretty much as soon as they sit down for the auction and almost puts him to sleep. Mr. Star announces that they have like a performance and bury some people alive in front of them. But this is enough to wake Bruce back up because it could relate to like the Lord Deathman situation. Mr. Star proceeds to bury this guy alive and tells everyone that they'll dig him back up in an hour. The hour passes by. And so the guy that gets brought up still alive, and they claim that it's some kind of secret yoga technique. So
Ancient
Bruce,
Hindu.
yeah, is convinced that it's now what Lord Deathman has been doing this whole time.
Yeah, because Bruce is like looking at like this Hindu guy getting lowered into like the earth in like a box, and he's like, bro, he's got half-hour tops of oxygen left in the box. And the dude looks a little slumped when they're pulling him up, but then within like a half a second, the guy's like alive and grinning. And they find out, or well, they rather explain, which, you know, I don't know showmen to really reveal their tricks, but they're like, yeah, he does ancient Hindu yoga, and they can slow their heartbeat and breathing like low enough to the point to where it looks like they're dead. But Bruce and Dick are immediately like, well, duh, that's gotta be it. And they just immediately dip, and they go to Lord Deathman's grave, and, you know, they theorize, they're like, yo, he's totally laying under the box. His goons are hanging out during the burial. And then a half hour later, when everyone leaves, they dig up our guy. And they go there. They're too late. And everything's already dug out. Lord Deathman's gone. They're just standing in the grave. And then boom, Lord Deathman, being the cheeky son of a gun he is standing right above them and shit talking again. And that's kind of the cliffhanger it leaves us on. But God, is he hilarious.
He's so funny. Like he's kind of like the best shit talker there is. Like would be good in sports and anything political probably.
Yeah, yeah, like Lord Deathman well, he's technically Japanese, so like what, prime minister? So, but yeah, dude, he's hilarious because like no matter what, like he talks shit, he gets caught, he drops dead, he gets buried like 4 times a week, and then he just pops back up and like is like, haha, couldn't get me. And he doesn't even care. He's so confident too, because Batman's like on his ass, and he just keeps showing up where Batman is just to like finger point and be like, dumbass.
I really wish I would have wrote down some of the quips too, because as I was reading this, I was like actually cracking up. Like this guy's like could have his own comedy special.
I know I didn't make any specific notes either, but I just remember like every moment I'm just like, that guy was like hitting us with one-liners, like classic.
Yeah.
But
I guess going into the very last issue of this arc, issue 3, Lord Deathman tells Batman and Robin that the grave they just dug up will now belong to them. So
hard.
that's a quip. Lord Deathman has everyone coming out of their grave, and they all have
Also
blocks
hard.
for some reason and start
Yeah, dude.
blasting at Batman and Robin.
They pop out from under tombstones and just start shooting.
Yeah, shit's crazy. And Batman pretends like he's hit in order to catch them off guard. However, Lord Deathman is able to escape and find his way to like a helicopter, and then in which he then drops a bomb on Batman and Robin. Simultaneously, Batman and Robin shoot up a smoke screen that prevents Lord Deathman from being able to see where he's flying in the helicopter, and ends up running into some power lines and ends up setting off one of his bombs and blowing up the helicopter. But the series kind of ends with Batman confessing he actually did get hit and used the same technique learned earlier to fake him being dead at the moment. As for Lord Deathman, they might have seen the last of him. We might not, but either way, he shouldn't be a threat for a while. So Robin and Batman head back home and kind of tend to Batman's wounds.
Yeah, that was awesome though. I love like it's kind of like that gotcha, like the like overly not it wasn't even complicated. It was a very simple story and straightforward, but it's almost like that over complicatedness of like manga sometimes when the hero has to outthink the villain to like overcome it. But I love that, Batman plays dead, slips into the Batmobile, like sets off a smoke screen, and while the dude's trying to bomb him, he just runs into power lines and explodes. Like it's almost a funny way to do it because like of all the things that Batman did to this guy, him not paying attention and hitting power lines with a helicopter did him in. And Batman's like, yeah, dude, I live in righteousness and that's why I succeed. And then he just basically is more or less like, he's like, I'm kind of cool with Deathman dying. He's like, he probably won't be back. I like the the morals of Japanese Batman, dude. He's just like, whatever, man. He's like, I probably won't have nightmares now. I look like a good guy. He
I like
sucks.
how bad these nightmares messed up Bruce too. It
He
seems
was
like that
pissed.
dude's not phased anything, and then just these Lord Deathman nightmares really get him messed up.
I like that this Batman is also like, it was of the time, so it was more appropriate. But, compared to what we see nowadays, this Batman is, kind of just one, we actually got a good amount of Bruce, relative to what we get nowadays, which I enjoy. And he wasn't brooding or being upset about his parents. He was literally just hanging out at auctions and like going to Jamaica. Like that sounds like what I would do if I was Batman. But just also the fact that this Batman's like going out in like daylight. I mean, it's in black and white, so I guess I can't assume that. But, I'm assuming that not all of these stories are in the middle of the night. And it's just, Batman doing Batman stuff. But that being said, I mean, obviously anybody can write Batman, but I felt like Jiro Kuwata had a really good kind of, especially for the Silver Age, a good tone of voice for what Batman was at that time. But at the same time, did not it wasn't as cheesy as watching the Adam West Batman because it was still pretty hard, dude. We had a skull guy in a helicopter dropping bombs and getting electrocuted by power lines. We're swinging wrecking balls into cars. It was
Felt
pretty
like he
cool.
shot a few people and didn't really bat an eye.
Ah, bad
Yeah,
night comedy. Ah,
good one on my part.
uh, but I mean, I don't know how much we can retread talking about this. I mean, how did you feel about like the setup of the story? Like, kind of like the classic panels, stuff like that. Like,
Like, give
compared
me
to
more stories in this format. I'm all about it. I wish
facts,
modern comics were like this
facts.
because,
That's
like, it
my
seems like there's like this kind of like realignment to like anime and manga, and like this is how you kind of fix like some of the comic book stuff going on. Is you make stories like this,
yeah. I
bring
mean,
back
I
a
would agree.
useless Silver Age character. I don't care. Like whatever it takes to make things more simple. It's just more
Simple
enjoyable. Like I had fun reading this. In fact, I would give it a 9 out of 10 just because I had so much fun reading it. Sometimes it's
facts.
not about how like nuanced it is or
The message and the deepness and the
yeah. It's just sometimes it's about entertainment, and that's exactly what this was, and I would highly recommend it.
Did Batman beat the tar out of a guy in a skull costume? Yes. Did anything like beyond the surface level really happen in this? No. I mean, robbing things bad. Don't be a skull guy. Like that's the whole moral of the story. And that's all I needed, It's simple. We're not deconstructing Batman. He's not broke. Alfred's not dead. He doesn't have like 12 orphans under his wing. It's literally just him and his first ward beating up dudes who deserve it. And then, that's it. I mean, it's basically like a long single issue in a way, like as far as complexity goes, but it's broken up into 3 little chapters. And I will say on this digital reader, as Joe mentioned earlier, there's like 6 separate stories that each are, probably 2, 3 issues a piece. But we just read the first chapter. I mean, there's still 5 more that we can. And at this point, with how good this was, I wouldn't mind revisiting for future episodes. If you want to hear some of the chapters in case you aren't familiar, they sound pretty lit. So chapter 2 is Dr. Faceless. Very sick. I flipped a couple pages into, well, swiped a couple pages into that. Looks very close character design wise to Lord Deathman. So that was pretty hard. But then there's the Human Ball. Don't know what that's about. The Revenge of Professor Gorilla sounds pretty hard. Go-Go the Magician. Don't know what that's about either. And The Man Who Quit Being Human. Now, those are all sick chapter titles in my opinion. I think we should definitely save these for a future episode, especially since we already have the reader. But there's like 2 more volumes of this too. So there's actually a decent little run of the Batmanga. And I've heard a lot about it, but we haven't read it to this point. And this has been one that I've circled since like we just about started the podcast. I'm like, we need to read this at some point. So, 3 years deep, I'm glad that we did, because this was honestly one of like the better things I've read for how simple and short it was. Like, I don't know.
For
It
sure
made
this
comics
year.
fun for sure this year. But I
Yeah.
mean, even amongst like classics and stuff like that, I had much more fun reading this than a lot of things.
I was reading it at work too, and I just kept showing my coworkers. I'm like, doesn't this panel look sick? Like the art was good too, actually. So not
I was
just the story, but like I enjoyed the art a lot.
The art was one of the main things that hooked me. Like, even just how Lord Deathman's drawn, like something about it just goes so hard that I'm just like, that's cool. Like, it's one of those inexplicable things where like a good character design goes a long way. It's like the whole Boba Fett thing. Dude looks cool. I could root for that. So, I mean, I was doing the same thing though, because I was reading it on my couch and I'd like flip over my tablet and I'd be like, Jazz, look at how sweet this is. And she was like, you know what, that is pretty sweet.
I think they did a good job with Robin as the sidekick too. It was like a real good sidekick role.
Yeah. He didn't do too much. He didn't do too little.
It kind of like in Speed Racer where he's got that chimp. Yeah, that's kind of like the vibes Robin gave, but a person.
Robin had a little bit of like attitude throughout the story too. Like, he wasn't like, oh yeah, chum, like like during like 60s like Adam West Batman Robin. He was kind of like, I don't know, he was almost roasting people like the whole time too, which I appreciated. He had some quips, but they weren't like soft quips. Like, he was like getting them. It made me laugh. I was like, hey, hell yeah, Robin. Looking child, dude. Just beating up men. He did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he chucked a few batarangs. That was sick too. He like didn't, I swear, like Batman chucked a batarang at someone, it like doinked off his head. Like, he was really getting him. like Batman was ready to maim and like injure and torture. But yeah, he chucked a batarang like in the first issue at the getaway driver's face, and he just ate it, dude, and crashed. We need to see a little bit more of that. But I love this stuff. I'm
Yeah,
ready
me
to.
too. I appreciate you recommending it, and I'm so glad that we were able to get this episode out in October.
I wonder if we can figure out if we can get the manga run of Spider-Man on digital reader, see how that compares. I don't think it's as renowned as the Batmanga is, but I did see some panels from it on like IG, and it looked pretty sick too. I think everybody had like a little run back in like the Silver Bronze Age. Like Superman, I could have swore I saw the Hulk at some point.
Give
Yeah,
me all of it.
honestly, who would have thought that on Comic Book Junkies we'd be like, yes, please give us some like Silver Age manga, please. And I know I've been saying manga, but that's because I like have to. I know it's manga, but I can't. Something about that just don't feel right to me, even though I know it's like correct.
I agree completely.
You know what I'm saying?
I
Uh,
do.
so no disrespect to all you manga folk out there, but I don't know why it goes as hard as it does. It sounds very dismissive and closed-minded, but I mean, you've heard my transformation from being staunchly anti-anime and manga to where I'm at now. I mean, I literally, like, fun story, not even a fun story for the pod, but I was at the LCS the other day. They don't typically sell manga, like the Shonen Jump, like the thick back issue type style books there. Usually it's just like whatever like the current paperback is of like today, which I'm not interested in. And they had one behind the counter, and if y'all have heard, I like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and they had one on the back counter, and I was just being nosy while I was buying my regular comic books. Got like a first Cassie Kane and a couple flashback issues, and I had to be nosy and be like, so y'all reading that, or y'all sell those now? And they're like, yeah, we sell them. And I went and flipped through the back. Turns out the girl at the front is a JoJo's fan, so I was like, cool. Flipped through the back issues. There were a bunch of decent like 90s shonen jumps, which could be cool, if the right thing's in there. But they had a first appearance of I won't get into specifics, but they had a first appearance in there, and I had to give the heads up to someone. So I'm wondering if, like the manga back issues are going to start invading standard comic stores, because I mean, I've been seeing it more and more, especially if you're on IG, that the market is growing, especially even amongst like, well, I guess Canadian collectors, but American collectors too. See a bunch more people posting like the big tuna back issues of that. And I mean, the back issues are cool, but it's just like, man, if comics don't straighten out, I could see them definitely overtaking even in the American market at some point. You know what I mean?
I do. But I guess a way that I've been supporting our market is I was on vacation just recently, and
Yeah.
unrelated to the show, I was in New York, and I was trying to find some good shops to go to. And I would just want to say shout out Midtown. Great inventory. Like I love our local comic book store, but it was pretty cool shopping out of state. Went to Silver Age Comics too, so just kind of glad to see wherever you go, there's some comic book goodness.
Yeah, and Joe's walking around New York. He's like, I'm looking for comics here. He literally said that. Don't let him lie to you.
Yeah,
He
quote
was going to the bin and he saw some greasy guy come like try to look in his bin. He's like, I'm looking here.
on the record.
Yeah, on the record. True and real. But yeah, you made some good pickups, out of town. Yeah, like you said, there's nothing like shopping at your LCS and, getting a good deal and all that. But there's like that extra little oomph and excitement when you're out of state, kind of pilfering someone else's boxes. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
I do.
someone's home base and you just went up in there and you're like, that's mine.
Facts.
Bags, dude. And you got good pickups. You want to let them know any of the cool ones?
I guess the main mention is I finally got a first Phantom Girl Action Comics 276. It's like the first Brainiac 5 and a first appearance of a bunch of other characters that don't really matter, but
Real docs.
can't really talk poorly about any old Silver Age Superman stuff. That was probably like my big pickup. Got a few other books I've been looking for a while, like a Batman 666, first Professor Pig, first Damian as Batman. I think first Flamingo possibly too.
You might be right.
I don't know for sure, but either way, some of the stuff I picked up that I've been looking for a while found outside of the state. So,
That goes hard.
but I
Yeah.
guess last question, did you give a rating for the
Great
Batmanga?
question. Great segue, actually, too, because I was going to recap that. Now, you gave it a 9 out of 10. I'm doing the
Correct.
same, actually. Yeah, 9 out of 10. Just as a quick recap, like I said, we're suckers for the Silver Age. This was everything that you want in a Silver Age comic and more. But unlike some Silver Age books, it didn't get boring. It was actually awesome all the way through. 3-issue arc. Art was amazing. A lot of these guys do write and draw. As where American comics, it's like you do one or the other more often than not. It's something I do respect about manga artists or mangaka, if you want to call them that, that they're basically doing that week in and week out, writing and drawing. That can't be easy to do. And he went hard on this when he didn't have to. But yeah, 9 out of 10. I'm definitely looking forward to maybe revisiting some of the other stories in the reader. If you're a Batman fan, or if you're not a Batman fan and you're like a manga fan who made your way over to Comic Book Junkies, I would recommend checking this out for sure. I don't think it even got like adapted into English up until probably the last 10 or so years, maybe a little bit more, 10, 15 years, but it's pretty freshly translated relative to when it came out. And yeah, highly recommend. 9 out of 10 from both of us. Cosign. So I'm going to let you know what we're doing next time. It's actually not that firm of a plan. I'll tell you that much. We are going to be doing a topic because, as you know, we've been busy boys this year and it's about to be super busy this week of our recording. I'm going to be a hitched man by the time you hear us next. So yeah, we're going to come up with a topic. Then we'll get back to probably our regular business as usual. We'll sprinkle in some topics. We'll go back to reading some cool stuff and, just kind of be business per usual. Now that like all of the life events that happened for like a whole, several years that we fit into 1 year are going to be done. And we'll be back to just normal life. But past that, if you're new here, welcome. Thank you for listening. Make sure to subscribe. We're on everywhere you listen to podcasts. We are on YouTube. We are just an audio show there, but that will be backed up for posterity's sake. You can listen to us at any point there. Rating and reviewing, always cool to do. If you don't do it, I understand. I've seen some more come in, especially on Spotify. Appreciate that. But, helps feed the algorithm, get us pushed out. I think I messed with our algorithm when I updated some of our minor adjustments to our listing. So I don't know if y'all ain't messing with us or if the algorithm hates us like a ton. But a way to fix that, rate, review, or at least just tell a friend, if you're a comic fan, just make mention to it. I did see some of you on Instagram also share us to your story. Appreciate the hell out of that, especially you, JD Bills. Hell yeah. But other than that, we appreciate you listening and we will catch you next time.
All right, guys. Appreciate you listening.
Later.